Good evening, everyone, and a warm welcome to everyone joining us for Spaceflight Now's coverage of the Starlink 12-15 mission. You are looking live at a brand new Falcon 9 rocket standing on Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. SpaceX is counting down to the launch of 23 Starlink satellites. Right now, liftoff is scheduled for 11:19 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 0319 UTC for our viewers around the world. I'm Stephen Young, and I'll be providing commentary tonight. We have given Will Robinson-Smith the evening off. Unfortunately, his seasonal allergies are playing havoc with his voice. So he's resting up and will hopefully be feeling better very soon. Be sure to follow Will and the rest of the Spaceflight Now team on social media so you can keep up with their launch photography and reporting. Adam Bernstein has been busy all evening setting up and will be out on the press site lawn running our cameras for tonight's launch. We'll also have support with downrange tracking from our friends Chuck and Jen Briggs of CNG Images, taking a quick look at their view of Pad 40 from Merritt Island. We'll also have tracking support from Pete Carstens at MaxQ Productions. A big thank you to all of our moderators in the chat for keeping the conversation civil and on topic. I see we have Callistia Lee and Jeff Hansen in the chat tonight. Big thank you to both of them, and I see we already have a $5 super chat from Bill in Lauderdale, who says, "Let's get the night started. For the mods, hip hip hooray." And yes, a big thank you to the moderators for the job they do keeping everything civil in the chat. Our coverage is powered by our viewers and our members, so please hit the like button and click subscribe. If you also hit the notifications bell, you'll know when new videos are posted and you won't miss any of our live streams. If you'd like to do more to help improve and expand our coverage of the space program, consider becoming a member of our YouTube channel or making a donation through YouTube's Super Chat feature. YouTube membership grants you access to our special members-only videos, as well as discounts in our online shop, shop.spaceflightnow.com. A big thank you to everyone who's made a contribution to help fund our coverage. We cannot do this without your support. We're now 56 minutes away from the planned T0 for this Falcon 9 rocket, which is carrying 23 Starlink V2 mini satellites. 13 of those are designed for direct-to-cell phone transmissions. We're about 15 minutes away from the point at which the launch director will give their go for the start of propellant load for today's launch, if everything is indeed looking good for the countdown to proceed. Those of you who were with us last night will know that this is the second launch attempt for this particular booster. It's a brand new Falcon 9 first stage. Has the tail number B1095. Earlier today, SpaceX lowered the rocket into the horizontal position, and engineers were presumably working on whatever issue caused the countdown clock to stop at T-minus 2 minutes and 28 seconds last night. SpaceX did tweet that the launch was scrubbed after an auto abort, but it did not give a reason for that cutoff that occurred in the final minutes of the countdown. It did say that the vehicle and payload were in good health. Whatever needed to be fixed on the rocket appears to have been fixed, and the rocket was back in the vertical position late this afternoon. This is a brand new booster, as I mentioned, and it's quite possible that there's a few kinks that need to be worked out. That's one newfound advantage that some spaceflight old-timers had not anticipated, that actually it might be more reliable to fly on a vehicle that has previously flown. But it's not clear, as we don't have any insight into the cause of last night's scrub, whether it was perhaps just a new component that wasn't behaving quite as it was supposed to. It's not unusual for SpaceX to introduce a new vehicle to its fleet. It's done that 4 times this year, including this particular vehicle. It has about 18 boosters on active duty here at the Cape and at the West Coast Launch Facility at Vandenberg Space Force Base. SpaceX is running the countdown for this launch from its control center housed inside the Hangar X facility, which is located about 5.5 miles to the west of the pad. At that facility, Falcon 9 boosters are refurbished and ready for flight. There's also a separate building where the Starlink satellites are processed and encapsulated in the payload fairing. That site is currently undergoing a lot of construction work as SpaceX ramps up its Starship operations here at the Cape. If you're just joining us, liftoff is targeted for 11:19 and 10 seconds Eastern Daylight Time. It's a short launch window today with only one listed backup opportunity that comes 20 seconds later. The published launch window does run until 11:23 and 49 seconds, so it's always possible that SpaceX will pick an additional backup opportunity, but currently there's only one that they are advertising. If needed, there's another launch window tomorrow that opens at 9:45 p.m. Eastern. In addition to the crickets and the occasional frog that you can hear in the background, you might also detect some gusts of wind being picked up by our microphones. It is a little breezy here. There is a warning for 18-knot steady-state winds. That was not a factor in the 45th Weather Squadron's forecast for tonight's launch. Earlier today, they gave the rocket a 95% chance of favorable weather. They listed just a slight chance of a violation due to the cumulus cloud rule. If for whatever reason they do need to move to their backup opportunity tomorrow, the weather chances do dip a little to 90% favorable. There's a slightly higher risk that the cumulus cloud rule could be broken. As far as visibility tonight, it's definitely a mixed bag. The skies are partially cloudy. We can see some stars through the breaks in the cloud, and the clouds are moving through the area. So we'll have to wait and see what conditions actually look like when we get down to the actual moment of liftoff and the rocket's ascent. With less than 46 minutes to the launch of this Falcon 9 rocket, let's take a look at the countdown timeline for today's Starlink mission. Around T-minus 38 minutes, the launch director will report the results of the go, no-go poll. That poll is not taken vertically, that poll is not taken vocally over the loops. It is actually an electronic poll, so we won't actually hear that, if we could indeed hear the countdown loops. It's done by the click of a mouse button by the launch team. If everyone gives their go for launch, then the propellant loading process starts with kerosene on the first and second stages and super cold liquid oxygen for the first stage. With 30 minutes on the clock, cryogenic helium load will get underway. The helium is loaded into carbon fiber pressure vessels, which are located inside the rocket's liquid oxygen tanks. That helium plays an important role pressurizing the rocket's tanks as the propellants are consumed. It keeps the liquid oxygen and kerosene flowing into the Merlin engines. The helium load starts with the first stage and continues with the second stage 4 minutes later. Loading of kerosene aboard the second stage should wrap up at about the T-minus 23-minute mark. Loading of kerosene into the much larger first stage fuel tank will continue. The next major event is the start of the Strongback chill-down process. The Strongback structure is the lattice structure that sits alongside the rocket at pad 40 from this particular angle. It's a little hard to see. You can just make it out between the rocket and the crew access tower. In addition to supporting the vehicle, it serves as a conduit for propellant lines, air conditioning, and provides power for both the rocket's second stage and the payload fairing. This chill-down process is seen in the so-called big vent. There's a large cloud of vapor that will emerge from a port on that Strongback structure as the liquid oxygen lines are cooled. This is all in preparation for the next major milestone in the countdown. That comes at T-minus 16 minutes when it's the turn of liquid oxygen to start flowing through those Strongback lines into the second stage. At T-minus 7 minutes, the chill down of the 9 Merlin 1D engines on the first stage will get underway. During this process, a small amount of liquid oxygen flows through the rocket's plumbing and engine turbopumps. It will cool them down and protect them from the risk of thermal shock and damage when the startup sequence really begins the flow of oxygen and kerosene into the engine's combustion compartment. About 6 minutes prior to launch, the first stage kerosene tank should be full. Then at T-minus 4.5 minutes, we'll see the Strongback begin retracting from the Falcon 9. It will recline to an angle of about 1.5 degrees. It leans back ever so slightly from the Falcon 9 and will stay there until liftoff, when it throws back in a more rapid fashion to clear the way for the rocket's climb off the launch pad. About 3 minutes before liftoff, the first stage liquid oxygen tank should be full. Then around 2 minutes before launch, liquid oxygen loading should be complete on the second stage. At that point, the Falcon 9 will be fully loaded with 1 million pounds of propellants. In the final 60 seconds of the countdown, control will be handed over from the ground sequencer to the Falcon 9's onboard computers. The propellant tanks will be brought up to flight pressure. And if everything is looking good, the SpaceX launch director will give their final go for liftoff. The engine ignition command will be issued at T-minus 3 seconds. If all 9 Merlin 1D engines ignite and are healthy, the flight computer will release the hold-down clamps and the Falcon 9 will lift off at T0. Tonight, that is scheduled for 11:19 and 10 seconds. T-minus 39 minutes and counting. We're less than 4 minutes away from the start of that propellant load. Just hopefully a few moments away from when the SpaceX launch director will give the go for the start of that process. It's been some time since SpaceX has provided us with mission audio, so we're not able to listen in on that process as it is underway, but we will visually be able to see the start of vapors building up around the first stage, and that will be our indication that the countdown is continuing. If you're just joining us, you're looking live at a brand new Falcon 9 rocket standing on Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. SpaceX is about 36.5 minutes away from launching this rocket and its cargo of 23 Starlink satellites. This is the second attempt for this new booster, Booster 1095. Last night, just a few minutes before midnight, SpaceX halted the countdown for reasons they have not disclosed. But whatever caused that particular problem appears to have been resolved. And SpaceX is once again counting down to a liftoff at 11:19 p.m. T-minus 35 minutes and counting. If all is proceeding as planned, propellant load should now be underway at Launch Complex 40. The propellant load sequence is managed automatically by the ground computers. 3 of the 4 propellant tanks on the rocket will be loaded at this point. Those are the kerosene tanks on the first and second stage, and the liquid oxygen tank on the first stage. The rocket's Merlin engines burn a fuel and an oxidizer. The fuel is a highly refined rocket-grade kerosene, which is known as Rocket Propellant 1, or RP1 for short. The oxidizer used by the Falcon 9's Merlin engines is a super-chilled liquid oxygen. By densifying the oxygen, SpaceX packs in more propellant and gains more performance than is possible with the usual chilled liquid oxygen that is used on most other rockets. It is that super chilled oxygen that should give us our first clue that this process is underway. This being a brand new booster, it's a little hard to make out when the frost ring starts to form around the base of the liquid oxygen tank. It's very easy to get fooled, but it does look like perhaps we are seeing a hint that that line is starting to form. When a rocket has flown before, it gets a coating of soot, and that dark color makes the fueling process obvious. But I think we are indeed seeing a few wisps of vapor, yes, quite clearly there now. And this vapor is actually the moisture in the air that is coming into contact with the skin of the Falcon 9's liquid oxygen tank. So we're not actually seeing the propellants itself. This is just the chilling effect of those cold tanks coming into contact with the humid Florida air. So quite clearly now we can see that propellant load is indeed underway at pad 40. The clock is now at T-minus 31 minutes and 27 seconds. T-minus 30 minutes and counting. Helium loading should be underway now into the pressure vessels on the first stage. Once again, that helium is used to pressurize those propellant tanks during flight. Just dipping into the chat briefly, wanted to give a big thank you to Jeff Hansen with a $5 super chat, thanking me for filling in for Will. It's always better to have Will in the chair, but I'm happy to give him a break so he can get over his allergies and be back with us for launches later in the week, hopefully. And hopefully everyone will be patient with me as I am performing double duty, performing the technical side of the broadcast as well as doing commentary. Also, a big thank you to Lisa Lynch for a $10 super chat, saying, so glad to be back. Hello to all. Can't wait to see a successful launch. And also thanking the mods for all their hard work and patience. T-minus 25 minutes and counting. The loading of cryogenic helium is continuing now with the storage tanks on the second stage. Also want to give a big thank you to Vincent Florio, who gifted a Spaceflight Now membership. Tonight's launch will be the 60th Falcon 9 launch of the year. You can see the track record of SpaceX's workhorse rocket since it was introduced in 2010. Last year, SpaceX managed to reach 134 missions during the year. This year, it's aiming to get to as many as 170. It had earlier set a goal of 180, but lowered that expectation to 170 using our metric of measuring the number of launches in 365 days. We're at 142 launches in 365 days, and this will be the 143rd launch. And there we see the start of the so-called big vent. That is the chill down of the propellant lines that run up the Strongback. that feed the second stage of the Falcon 9. This process is necessary to chill those lines so that when propellants start flowing through them to the second stage, there's not a risk of that propellant suddenly boiling and turning to gas, or also potentially causing some thermal problems with the pipes themselves. The sudden shock of a propellant that cold traveling down the propellant line can actually cause a propellant line to rupture. So they flow this small amount of oxygen through the system to get it down to the right temperature, so when the moment of loading liquid oxygen into the second stage begins, it all goes smoothly. And this should go on for another couple of minutes, and then the start of propellant load on the second stage, the liquid oxygen load. At this point, the kerosene tank should be full on the second stage, but the loading of liquid oxygen will start at the T-minus 16-minute mark. A big thank you to the now more than 4,000 of you who are joining us for our live coverage of this launch of a brand new Falcon 9 rocket from Cape Canaveral. If you haven't done so already, please hit the like button. That really helps us out. And if you want to be kept informed of when we go live with future launch coverage, also remember to subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notifications. We're now nearing the conclusion of the vent here. You can see that starting to taper off. Always interesting to see the shapes created by the venting at the pad. The loading of liquid oxygen onto the second stage should be well underway now. We'll start to see some vapor form on the second stage of the rocket, the white section above the black band. With less than 15 minutes to the launch of this Falcon 9, let's take a look at the trajectory that the rocket will be taking tonight. The Falcon 9 will lift off from the pad at Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. It will fly in a southerly trajectory to the southeast, targeting an orbit inclined at 43 degrees to the equator. Following stage separation at about 2.5 minutes into flight, the first stage will follow a trajectory down to one of SpaceX's drone ships. The one on deck tonight is called Just Read the Instructions. This was the second drone ship to bear that name, and this particular vessel entered service with its first landing in January 2016. The drone ship is stationed about 415 miles downrange in the Atlantic Ocean east of the Bahamas. While the first stage is making its way back to Earth, the upper stage will continue on with the Starlink satellites. The two halves of the payload fairing will peel away from the upper stage about 3 minutes into flight and descend to a splashdown in the Atlantic a little bit further downrange from the booster landing zone. These payload fairings, which are built in-house by SpaceX, cost about $6 million. So recovering this clamshell structure is quite important to the efficiency of the SpaceX operation, reducing the cost of launches. The two halves of the payload fairing descend to the ocean on parachute-like parasails. They also are equipped with tiny thrusters to help maneuver them and get them positioned so that they can survive re-entry. SpaceX will use one of its East Coast recovery ships to scoop up the fairing halves. Today they're using Bob, which is a vessel named after the former NASA astronaut Bob Behnken, who flew aboard the Dragon Demo 2 mission back in May 2020 as the first crewed flight for SpaceX. Just returning to the chat briefly, thank you to Looney Lion for a $2 super chat who says, let's rock and roll. We're about 10.5 minutes away from the Falcon 9 lifting off from Space Launch Complex 40. And there will certainly be some noise. Let's take a closer look at the Falcon 9 that is launching tonight. It stands 70 meters or 229 feet tall and has a diameter of 3.66 meters or 12 feet. The bottom 2/3 of the rocket is the first stage. Today's first stage booster is flying for the first time. It is designated Booster 1095 in the SpaceX fleet. At the base of the first stage are 9 Merlin engines, which burn rocket-grade kerosene and liquid oxygen, and they produce 1.7 million pounds of thrust. Around the engine compartment are the black carbon fiber landing legs that will be used when the first stage touches down on the drone ship. Above that is the interstage. This is a composite structure consisting of an aluminum honeycomb core surrounded by carbon fiber. It remains attached to the first stage after separation. In the inset image, you can see the hypersonic grid fins that are made of titanium and help steer the Falcon 9 as it falls through the atmosphere like a dart. At the top of the interstage are 3 mechanical latches that attach to the second stage. At first stage main engine cutoff, high pressure helium is used to release those latches, and 4 pneumatic pushers ensure there is a clean separation between the first and second stage. The second stage engine nozzle is safely housed inside that interstage adapter until stage separation. The upper stage is powered by a single modified Merlin engine called a Merlin vacuum engine, or MVAC. It's equipped with a large nozzle that is optimized for burns in the vacuum of space and produces more than 200,000 pounds of thrust. It will be fired twice on today's flight to place the 23 Starlink satellites into their intended orbit. It will also ignite for a third time to deorbit the upper stage so that it doesn't create any risk of becoming space debris. Finally, at the top of the rocket is the payload fairing containing the 23 Starlink satellites. It's made of a carbon composite material and is 13.1 meters or 43 feet tall and 5.2 meters and 17.1 feet in diameter. Those payload fairings, as we discussed earlier, will be retrieved from the Atlantic for reuse. At this point, the chill down of the Merlin engines on the first stage is underway. We should be nearing completion of the loading of kerosene on the first stage as well. We'll soon be hearing audio from SpaceX as they begin work to retract the Strongback structure.
Tanks are pressing for Strongback retract.
There we hear the call that is underway. They are pressurizing the propellant tanks to give the Falcon 9 a little more structural strength, as it will be losing the support of the clamps on the Strongback structure.
Strongback retract.
And that Strongback retract is now underway. The clamps, which have been wrapped around the top of the second stage, will start opening momentarily. And we can see that now in this video coming from SpaceX. You can see those clamp arms are indeed open just below the payload fairing. T-minus 4 minutes. You'll notice there's a slight discrepancy between our countdown clock and the SpaceX clock. That's because the SpaceX feed comes to us with a little bit of a delay. T-minus 3 minutes. The rocket's autonomous destruct system is being armed, and liquid oxygen topping will be terminated soon.
Stage 1 LOX load is complete.
We have confirmation that the first stage is now full with liquid oxygen.
Stage 2 LOX load is complete.
And now we have confirmation that the Falcon 9 is fully fueled and ready for flight. We've also passed the point in the countdown where the countdown was halted yesterday.
Ground gas closeouts.
Seeing the venting from the ground gas closeouts at the launch pad.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
We have confirmation that the ground computers have handed over to the onboard computers, waiting for the final go from the launch director.
The launch director is go for launch.
And there we have it. We're just moments away from the flight of this Falcon 9 on its first mission. "15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition and liftoff. Liftoff of the Falcon 9. And the vehicle has cleared the tower. Now 1 minute 20 seconds into flight.
Max Q.
Falcon 9 has passed the point of maximum dynamic pressure.
MVAC chill.
Chill down of the second stage Merlin vacuum engine is underway. Preparation for stage separation and ignition of that stage. 2 minutes into flight. About 30 seconds away from separation. There we see burnout of the first stage. Separation and ignition on the second stage. We'll
Main engine cutoff.
Stage separation confirmed.
seeing those events now on the SpaceX stream. You can see the lights of Florida behind the engine. And there's the ignition of the MVAC engine. In the upper screen, you're seeing a view from the first stage showing the grid fins, the titanium grid fins on that stage opening up. And still see the lights of Florida in the background as this booster continues to climb.
Fairing separation confirmed.
And we saw fairing separation in real time in Pete Costin's tracking camera view, and then you can see the Starlink satellites for the first time exposed to the vacuum of space. And there is some cloud in the area, so it's not clear how much longer we'll have our tracking views, though we did have a view a moment ago here at the press site, but I think we have now lost that also.
Both vehicles are on a nominal trajectory.
We've still got a view now coming in from Adam Bernstein, just struggling to see it with the clouds in the area, but there you go. There's the second stage, still burning bright in the night sky here. More than 4.5 minutes into flight. The Falcon 9 booster continuing to climb as it approaches its apogee. And it now appears to be descending. We're coming up on the entry burn. That burn should be beginning in about 10 seconds. See if we can catch it in any of our cameras.
Both vehicles continue to follow a nominal trajectory.
I think we can see it there in the turn basin view, just briefly in the sky. And Pete
Stage 1
has it.
FTS has safed.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
You can see that entry burn underway. You can also see it in the SpaceX onboard cameras now. This entry burn lasts about 20 seconds.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
The entry burn is a crucial part of the landing
Stage 2
process.
FTS has safed.
You can see it essentially slammed on the brakes. Without this, the first stage would likely have broken up as it fell back into the atmosphere, and the friction of the atmosphere would have created too much heat. The
Stage
box
1 transonic.
box on the left is from the first stage, and the second stage on the right. Now approaching the landing burn. Falcon 9 is traveling less than the speed of sound. It's an altitude of about 3 kilometers.
Stage 1 landing burn.
There's the ignition for the final descent. To the
Stage 2 is in terminal guidance.
view from the deck of the drone ship.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
And touchdown.
Stage 1 landing confirmed.
Boost at 1095 has completed its first mission. Coming up on second stage cutoff.
MVAC shutdown.
And there we see that. And SpaceX has ended its feed. We didn't hear the call for a good orbit insertion. But if everything is going according to plan, the Falcon 9 second stage will be in a parking orbit. It will coast for about a little less than, about 45 minutes before a short burn of the second stage. That would be a 2-second burn that will circularize the orbit prior to the deployment of the Starlink satellites. That deployment will occur 1 hour and 5 minutes into flight. If you stay with us, we will attempt to bring you some replays of tonight's launch. Once again, because Will is off tonight, I'm performing double duty, so I have to multitask here, and in addition to providing commentary, run the technical side of things, including the replays. So bear with me while I get those ready. And we're just a few moments away from having those replays ready for you. Appreciate your patience here as I get them ready. Hopefully they won't disappoint. We're Just going to show the best of what we were able to capture today as quickly as I can get the system to work. While we wait for the replays just to finish coming together here, let's take a look at the statistics for this Falcon 9 flight. It was the first flight for booster 1095, the 477th Falcon 9 launch to date, the 60th Falcon 9 launch of 2025, the 416th Falcon booster reflight. Actually, that refers to the last mission, I believe, as this was on its first flight. It was also the 143rd SpaceX orbital launch in the last 365 days. We've had 252 SpaceX orbital launches from this particular pad. And overall, it was the 307th launch from Pad 40. So thank you for your patience while I've been getting the replays ready. I think we're in for a treat, some great views from our camera teams. We'll start with our fixed camera here at the press site. We'll get to relive the liftoff, which came at 11:19 and 10 seconds. This is our static fixed camera. Really see the shock waves passing through the plume at the launch pad as the rocket climbs away. And now we're going to our wide camera here at the press site. A stunning panoramic view from this particular camera. See the Falcon 9 rolling onto its trajectory for a 43-degree inclination orbit. These clips are a little short to pick up the sound of the Falcon 9. Get a little bit of that rumble towards the end here. And this is the turn basin view. We may have to come back to this one. And now the tracker that is operated by Pete Carsons of Max Q Productions. This is located south of Cape Canaveral. And you can hear in the audio the squeal of the VAB. That very distinctive sound is created when the sound waves hit the metal sidings of the vehicle assembly building here at the Kennedy Space Center, and creates that screeching sound. Get a great view of the plume created by the 9 Merlin 1D engines at the base of the Falcon 9 expanding as the rocket climbs into thinner and thinner atmosphere. Quite amazing structure becomes visible in that plume, and some color changes as well. And in our replay here, we're approaching the burnout of the first stage. Really see that plume expanding and the individual exhaust of each of those 9 engines. You can see 2 objects now as separation occurs, and the green flash as the T-tab ignition fluid lights the second stage. It's always interesting to see those effects with the plume interactions. And here's the view from our press site tracker. I think a little bit of duplication there. And just get the right video in that slot. Apologies for that. As I explained, it's a little difficult getting these replays done while also providing commentary and handling all the other aspects of the show. So let's go back to Adam's video now. We've got the right clip in that spot. And unfortunately, from our perspective here at the press site, there was a lot of cloud that interfered with our ability to track the Falcon 9 tonight. Fortunately, we do have cameras located in multiple places around the Space Coast so that we can do our best to beat those clouds and bring you the best coverage that we can. I have one more clip for you if you can bear with me for just a second or two longer. We might have saved one of the best views for Lost. The turn basin reflection shot is always a really gorgeous view of a launch. And here it is, that view. Unfortunately, came in a little late when I first played it, but this time you get to see the full glory of that particular angle. You can also see those clouds that thwarted our cameras for a while. So with our replays shown, we're ready to wrap up our coverage tonight. Just want to give a big thank you to our moderators who have been looking after everyone in the chat tonight. Big thank you to Callistia Lee, Aussie Space Girl, Rick Donna, Jeff Hansen, Astro Joe. Apologies if I've missed any of our moderators who may have been in the chat tonight. Also, a big thank you to Adam Bernstein, who set up all the cameras here at the press site and braved the mosquitoes and the heat. Many thanks to Chuck and Jen Briggs and Pete Costens for their work in tracking this Falcon 9. Our next launch coming up is from Vandenberg Space Force Base, another Starlink launch coming up on Thursday. That launch has slipped a few days, so keep an eye on our schedule, see if it holds that launch time on Thursday. We'll be back with full coverage of that, and hopefully Will's voice will have also returned by then. So just one last thank you, and that's to everyone who joined us for this coverage and has contributed to the channel. We can't do this coverage without your support, and we really appreciate you being here to follow along with the mission. I'm Stephen Young, reporting for Spaceflight Now from the Kennedy Space Center. I wish you all a good night, and we'll see you next time.